the beginning? Do you have like?
Yeah, now we're on air, so this is recorded.
Okay.
This is Stefan Kreutzer and John Keldon playing a card game using actual physical cards, which I'm transcribing into a chat. And what follows now is just first me recapping what has gone on so far, and then I will leave the floor to Stefan when we come to that part of our session so far. So play number one, Stefan. He took card number one, and card number one is titled Hypercard. Then Stefan got to choose between 4 options, and those are learn, look, ask, try. Stefan chose look, and look here in the concept of this card session means providing real-world examples and or use cases. So that is the card one, right? Use cases could sort of include a listing of original Apple HyperCard and or modern attempts at HyperCard. Then play 2, that's me, John Keldon, played card number 2, and that card is titled Tweaking. And that's an actual text to that card as well. It says, tweak the insights so as to make a difference. And then I have the same 4 options, learn, look, ask, try. I chose ask. And then my ask is to Stefan. I would like to understand a bit more about how you work. And in the context of the card session, that means how you work with HyperCard and or related use cases. That's kind of where it's easy for you now to sort of just tell me a bit more about that, and then we can record that. So we don't have to type endlessly into the chat thing.
Yeah, so I'm playing this game for the first time, and I don't know the rules in advance, so I'm at the moment trying to figure out the rules. So what I get from this very nice example is that the HyperCard card, that's the term I chose, right?
Yeah, that's your card.
So in our instance here, you picked that for me, which is quite an excellent pick. But I probably have some cards prepared of my own, and I would play some towards you in this game. And you chose the tweaking one to sort of like to ask me a tweaking question, basically about my card, for example, or like for example, you could look into tweaking how to do that. But in this case, so if I understand correctly, the current question not to the game master or to the system, but to me as player one would be how I work with the context of my HyperCard card. Is that what we are doing right now?
Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah. So you can choose to stick strictly within that card only, or you could allow yourself latitude of, because you chose real world examples, so you can expand into that as well, because that will still stay within sort of the remit.
Yeah. So do I have the option to sort of refuse the question or pull other cards, or like, I mean, I now would basically answer the question, right? But then it's the initiative.
Yeah, I mean, actually you can, because this is kind of, now you basically just invented an additional rule, which I really like. And this is actually fun that we had this recorded, because then instead of refusing, you can sort of go HyperCard on us, right? And say, why don't I begin to answer your very great ask by drawing card number 3, and then if you would choose that, then that would actually work really well, right? Because this is kind of what often happens in the real world, where someone kind of politely, intelligently, wisely dodges a question and then just do something else. So then actually the session becomes more lifelike. I mean, so I've been doing these things a lot, and that is almost always can be even a sensible move, right? And there's so many ways this could branch. And I mean, also, if you do code, if you're stuck in a certain way of approaching a way to solve a problem, it can sometimes make sense to actually just bypass that and sort of just do something else, and then you return. And so there's lots of examples in this.
Have a second player with fresh eyes to look at it, because questions and answers eventually. Yeah. Okay, so the initial procedure to get the conversation going or the game going is the first both sides pick a card, select an option, and then we usually have some initial action around the 4 options: learn, look, ask, try. And now is that like now open for further sort of interaction until everything is covered, and then we would probably pull another new card? Or is this like,
yeah, I mean,
basically
kind of technically, if we would sort of stay strictly within just those cards, you would just give a short comment on how you work related to HyperCard, and then we'll say, yeah, thank you, that was really great. And then it's your turn again with sort of it returns to you, kind of because we take turns. So card number 3 would then be yours, card number 4 would be mine, and so on. So we could just imagine that this could go on until we run out of time, or end of our natural lives, or we're just happy with the outcome, some kind of stopping rule to our satisfaction. So there's kind of an infinite game structure in this, because that actually can also be explained with HyperCard. How many different things can you build with HyperCard? Well, lots, right? Very many things, right? And that's also the reason why there's so much structure, because if you get very, very little or no structure, and then you say that this is an infinite game, do whatever you want, this usually confuses people right from the start. And that's one reason why so much structure. There's also problem-solving stuff built into this particular format, so it's kind of a careful approach and very modular. So very little risk of actually breaking something. And so we just sort of build.
Cool. Yeah. So I have now an answer for this question. I mean, like, there would be much to expand on it, but I wrote as response. I mean, depending on if that's either in audio, in conversation and talk via audio, or in text, I don't know. But like, I answered with, I'm trying to create modular content pieces that flexibly can be combined into a HyperCard-like interface approach or paradigm. I don't know.
That's a really, really great response to my ask. It's kind of, so for this sort of first tryout session, this is basically just a perfect beginning example, which means that I can just press kind of stop broadcast now, and
you can.
This has sort of done its job, kind of the recording.